Hey y'all, welcome to the Road to Cowgirls at the Cowboy, where I'm taking you behind the scenes with me as I saddle up with the ladies of Cowgirls at the Cowboy, the nation's first and only 3-night all-female country music festival at Jackson Hole's iconic Million Dollar Cowboy Bar. I'm your host, Jenny Tolman. I'm a country music artist, songwriter, and the host and curator of Cowgirls at the Cowboy. And I'm so happy that you're here. Y'all, I'm so excited because our guest on the Road to Cowgirls at the Cowboy today is the Grammy-winning superstar, songwriter, and artist, McKenna. Thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
No, I'm so excited. Just as a songwriter myself, you are a legend, living legend in the songwriting world and artist world. And so sitting across from you is a great honor. So I'm just really appreciative that you're here and that you're coming to Jackson Hole.
Yeah, I'm very excited.
Yes. Have you ever been?
Yeah.
Okay,
we did an RV trip out there a couple of years ago.
It's amazing.
So it's like another world. It's
it
like
is.
Another planet.
Mm-hmm. My husband and I got married out there because we love
beautiful.
it so much.
That's
We
great.
got married in the snow because we're crazy, but it was so fun.
Yes.
But I have to say, I feel like I have this like secret connection to you because I know you're from Massachusetts.
Yes.
My dad's from Massachusetts.
Oh.
So what part are you from?
I'm in Stoughton, which is like 20 miles south of Boston.
Okay, he grew up in Acton.
Okay.
I'm not sure where.
Acton's like, I think, west, like Route 2 west, maybe?
Yeah, that sounds right. Route 2. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
I think I did a show out there once.
Yeah. That's good. He still has my aunts and uncles up there and cousins and all that. So I'm actually going up there on Wednesday.
Oh,
so,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So really, I've got the McKenna spirit in me going up to Massachusetts.
Might be on the same flight.
Oh, really?
I think I'm going on. But I drove down here this trip because my youngest son is going to school. So I have a rented minivan with like a refrigerator and a microwave out in your driveway. So I could just move in right now. I could just stay here.
Is he going to school here in town?
He's going to go to Lipscomb. Yeah.
That's so fun. That'll be nice to have
But we did the drive.
Far but not far?
Right.
Because you're here.
And we're here all the time.
Yeah.
So, because 2 of the other kids live. So there'll be 3 of them here now. Because we have 5.
That's really nice. That's awesome.
Yeah, and it was a pretty drive. And it's a really, we have a beautiful country. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to forget that when you're flying everywhere. You know what I mean?
True. That's a good point.
So the driving is like a, and I'm sure it's another thing.
Good for inspiration. Because you write a ton about very, very authentic things. I feel like that's a good word to describe your style of writing is just
Thank you.
Very true, authentic. Your family, you write about your family a lot. Mm-hmm. Did you grow up in a musical family?
I did, in the way that my oldest brother is a songwriter, and all of my siblings. I'm the youngest of 6, and everybody learned mostly piano, except for my brother Rich and myself. We went to guitar instead, but really musical in the way that we always played. Somebody was always playing the piano at home, but not music that left the house very often.
Okay.
So very kind of like shy about being musical, maybe. Yeah. But my oldest brother Bob was a songwriter, played in like cover bands, and did the singer-songwriter things for years and years. And I just sort of followed suit. But I always say, like, we grew up on like James Taylor and Jesus. It was like like we grew up on singer-songwriters. Yeah. And it was impossible to, think of songs in any other way other than who wrote the song. Like, it was always part of the conversation around music growing up.
I love that.
And then somebody told me, you just got to write what you know. Mm-hmm. And I don't know that much.
You fooled me because your songs say otherwise.
Well, I guess I only know what I feel, so that's really the wheelhouse I try to stay in and I'm most comfortable in. And that was why Nashville was such a big part of my development as a songwriter, because I never co-wrote until I came here. And I was 36 when I came here. So it was like, my first trip to Nashville, I had been writing obviously a lot for years by myself, and then realized that that's what everyone's doing here.
Yeah.
Everyone here is writing what they feel.
Yes.
And then just learning to co-write was like a whole.
Yeah.
It was like learning an
therapy
instrument.
session together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just like serving one another in the song and serving the song and, you know, the song finding itself to you and all that stuff like that. All those colors like lit up here for me. So
that's amazing. What brought you to Nashville? Was it through your songwriting that you were like, I need to go here? Did you hear about?
I heard about Nashville obviously a ton, and I would have people, because up in Boston when I started in the late 90s, it was like the folk world. And Boston is a really nurturing environment, a lot of great places to play. And I don't know if it's because of Berkeley or really just because it was part of the folk scene in like the day, you know, back in the day. And our Bluebird Cafe in Boston is a place called Passim, and we all came up through there. Yeah. And I met Mary Gaucher, and Mary Gaucher moved here, and she brought one of my records, a record I made called Bittertown, and gave it to Melanie Howard, who's a publisher, and she called me. Like, I had been here once, and Melanie called me, and she was like, can I pitch your songs around town? And then she called me back like a month later, and she was like, Faith Hill wants to cut some of your songs. So that's...
Casual.
I know, it was like... And I kind of knew that was crazy, but now that I know the world, like I know... So I always say, like, I won the lottery, but I didn't play. You know what I mean? I didn't buy a ticket. I just, like, someone knocked on my door and said... And that's really how it's been. And this luck is, like, the biggest factor in my career has been how lucky I've been. And I always say, like... But you have to meet the luck with work. You have to
absolutely, and
you can't just
you far beyond meet
so
the luck with your work.
I try to you know meet it, and I try to, but I'm still like, because I've never lived here, I still like show up every time I show up. I'm like so excited.
I think that's so cool, and because I find it so fascinating, because I'm born and raised in Nashville, so I've never left. Yeah, and that's like unheard of in this town. Yeah. And so everybody that moves here and leaves everything that they know to come to this town and has that, you know, what you're talking about, that feeling when you get here, you're so excited and you're ready. I'm always like, that's just like so inspiring to me because people are like, oh my gosh, growing up in Nashville must have been so amazing. And it's like, yeah, it was, but it's like a little bit of that blessing and a curse because I don't have that, like, I just arrived in town feeling.
You don't have that perspective.
Yeah. It's like, I need to leave for a week and then come back. That's, I guess maybe being on the road is good for that, to come home to.
Totally.
Because, I mean, when you get in the room with people, you feel that. But yeah, I'm always just so inspired by everybody that comes here and puts it all out there. Yeah.
And I think that if you move here as a writer, it's easy to lose that feeling. And I think it's another, you know, in the luck category for me, because it never made sense for me to live here. Yeah. Because of the kids and my husband's job and my family all being in Boston. I was lucky that I couldn't live here because that perspective is always a little fresh for me, even though you know, I've been coming to town for years and years and years now. I still like have this like a little tiny bit of a beginner's mind about it, because you know there's nothing like this town as far as like any day of the week. Right. There's a lot of great songs being you know crafted in this town, and if I lived here, you know, every morning dropping off kids, going to Starbucks, you know, standing in the kitchen of the office, it would get, you know, it's harder to keep that, you know, when you live here. Yeah. And I really respect people that do it. I just was never really able to do it.
No, that is really fascinating because you have a very unique journey overall, like living in Boston still and coming down here. And you have 5 kids, is that correct? Right. And I have 1, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how are you doing this with 5?
Well, one's the hardest. The first one's the hardest.
Is it? Okay,
well, that's the biggest change.
That's good to hear. Yeah.
It's the biggest change. And I had my oldest His name's Brian. I had him when I was 20. I had just turned 20.
Really?
My husband and I got married when we were 19. So
Wow.
we didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know I was going to be a songwriter. I thought, I was selling Tupperware.
Oh my gosh,
No way. So, yeah, I worked at an
Wow.
epoxy plant and sold Tupperware.
Oh
So
my gosh.
I didn't know I was going to be able to do this,
Wow.
know. But yeah, 1 is the hardest, the biggest change.
Okay. Good.
3 is also, 'cause you run out of arms when you have the 3rd.
So how did you wind up at 5?
So the secret is, with kids, you need a 12-year-old before you
Before you have the 5th? Okay.
So you need a
All right,
12-year-old.
I'm taking notes.
When you have the 4th, just already have a 12-year-old.
Okay.
Because then it's like another mom.
That's true. No, it
It
is.
really is.
They start to help each other at that point.
And
right?
also
Okay.
at 12, I've told many people my theory on this. So what happened with Gene, my husband and I, is we got married when we were 19 and had 3 kids by the time we were 25.
Wow.
So we thought we were done. And then 7 years later, we weren't done. My daughter Megan, we have 1 girl and 4
Okay.
boys. And Megan came. When Megan was born, my oldest was like 11, 12.
Yeah.
And then when the youngest, David, was born, my second oldest was around 11 and 12.
Oh, really?
So the thing about boys, and I know you have a boy,
yeah.
when they get to be that age, that's when the world sort of creeps in. And any sort of maternal instinct or like this loving instinct that especially boys might have starts to, the world gets in there
Right.
a little bit.
Yeah.
You hand them a baby.
And it brings it right back. Oh,
Or a
my
puppy.
gosh.
You can also-
Oh, no. You're getting me in trouble for the next 12 years.
Then it all starts taking care of itself.
Yeah. All right. Well, Lauren McKenna said it, so it's true. It's just really inspiring as a woman and a new mom where I'm like trying to figure out this juggling situation of we're already in this crazy industry of music.
Right.
And then you add in the hardest job in the world, being a mom on top of it. So no, I very much admire you for how you've been able to raise your family and have such an amazing career.
Yeah, and again, lucky, because I had a lot of people help me.
Yeah.
And everybody's job is crazy. Everybody that has a kid and a job has a crazy juggling thing that they do. We have a lot of freedom, and then we have a lot of, guilt and all that. But I think most people have that. It's just that we have, ours seems different in the way that we can't really explain what we do.
That's
to
a good
people.
way to describe it. Because I tell my friends a lot, I'm like, we're really blessed that we get to take them everywhere. He comes on the road with me or,
That's awesome.
or whatever it may be. And, even to write sometimes. If I'm friends with Caitlin Smith, and she's actually played on our inaugural year of Cowgirls at the Cowboy,
cool.
and she's got her 3 boys, and she sends me pictures breastfeeding in the right. She's like, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
So we are very blessed in that way to be able to be that flexible. And speaking of the festival and women and all of that, because it is an all-female festival out in Jackson Hole, so we love to celebrate just the incredible talent in country music, because I think women tell such cool perspectives in their storytelling and their writing. And we're just so excited to have you coming out there and be one of our women, because you are not only reaching goals, but you are setting goals and setting records. You were the first woman to ever win Songwriter of the Year for the ACMs and the CMAs. So what does something like that mean to you? Like when that happens, what do you register that in your brain?
I think that that was the ACMs, and I think that the ACM Songwriter of the Year award is only a few years old. Like that, because I remember when that happened. I remember talking to my sister Marie, and she was like, "What about Dolly Parton?" And I was like, "Yeah, wait, let me check." Like,
good point, Marie.
What about Loretta Lynn? And it was like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that is a newer award. I don't know how old it is at this point. It's like maybe 10 years old. But I was the first woman in a new award category. You know what I mean? So because
You're trying to talk yourself
but
out of your
well, it's kind of what you said, that the way that women speak in songs is different.
It is very different
than mostly male songs. And I think that if you look across time, the women are the ones, it's just like anything. Like when we get together, we're going to talk about something that is maybe a little like grittier than a bunch of guys sitting around, and they're going to talk about maybe something lighter because they've put their grittiness into something else. You know what I mean? And we usually get to the point. You know, in a song, you have 3.5 minutes to get to the point of something in a song, and women have a way of just standing in a kitchen somewhere and just being like, so what do you think about this?
Right.
You know, and I think that's why it's natural for us, and it's a little bit more of a need for us.
Yeah.
Versus like the song being a release because it makes you feel good. Yeah. We tend to like the songs that are a relief because they make us feel like other people feel.
Yes,
like, oh, I'm not the only one that feels this way.
Exactly.
So we tend to write about the things that are harder to write about, and I think that's why we all, we tend to like sort of stick together too. Yeah. And like if I have an idea that I know Caitlin Smith will understand. You know what I mean? And like, I know another mom will get this. Or I'd love the perspective of someone that hasn't had a kid.
Right.
I would love her perspective of this. I think we sort of get down to the nitty-gritty a little bit more.
That's a great way to put it. And I also love, too, that you say, like, men put their grittiness in their
Yeah, they
work
do it somewhere else.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's a really unique way and smart way to look at that. I see your, like, songwriter brain unfolding in front of me. I'm like, she's so smart.
Well, also, if I could make people dance, I would. I just don't know how. Like, I just can't. The right hand, it just, it's like slow and steady.
I saw you a long time ago when I first started writing I went to a Gretchen Peters songwriting workshop years and years ago, and you came and played. I remember you saying that your chords were like C, G, D, and you moved the capo. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can be a songwriter then.
Yes.
Because you don't have to do all the crazy stuff. If you can deliver this message that needs to be heard, then that's what it's all about. You know, there's a time and place for making people dance, and
songs have always existed. When people didn't have instruments to play, they stood in fields and sang songs with each other. And my youngest is just learning how to play guitar this year. He finally like took some interest in it, and it's been really fun because my older kids that write, they run circles around me. Playing
your kids write too?
Yeah, I have two kids here that are writers every day. And so my youngest is just starting, and all I could think to tell him in the beginning was, you only really need 3 or 4 chords. Like here's a Brother Osborne song that they wrote with Barry Dean that has 1 chord, and it's a great song. Like listen to this song. That's 1 chord, and he's like, what? How can it be? And it's like, oh yeah, listen to this. Adam Wright song that's like 3. You know what I mean? And it's like the most brilliant thing you ever heard. And so you don't really, if your goal is I have to express myself in a song that I want to write, and you just think, oh, I don't know how to play the song, the guitar well enough to do so. Like you're holding yourself
inhibiting
back.
Yourself.
Yes. So that, and also like this is a friend. This is like that instrument is a friend to help you communicate what you need. It's like sitting together, and I say something and you say something back, and that's what the guitar is in the situation with the song. It's a thing that would be like, I know what you mean. You know what I mean? And it's been really fun watching him in sort of in real time.
Yeah.
Make himself feel better by expressing something musically.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And not, because you see that in kids when they're very young and learning, but he's older and learning. And that's it's been really kind of cool.
It's just cool to see that, it doesn't matter how old you are.
Yeah.
We all feel that gratification of working hard at something and then conquering that, or working at something and feeling, like you did it.
Exactly. And that's why those workshops are so cool, because there's people always of all walks of life. Like, if I'm remembering that correctly, you probably were one of the youngest people there.
I was the youngest there, yeah. Yep.
And there was older people there then, and that was a good bit ago.
Yeah.
And I always tell people if they come up to me after a show or something and say, I'm writing songs, I'm like, do not stop.
Yeah.
There's nothing telling you that you should ever stop writing songs.
Yeah.
It will always serve something in your body for you.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
You were talking about how you have certain ideas that you'll share for, Caitlin Smith or whoever.
Mm-hmm.
You write a ton with your good friends Hillary Lindsay and Liz Rose, and you call yourself the Love Junkies.
Right? We named ourselves.
Yes.
It's kind of weird, but we did.
No, I love it. So I want to hear about that. How did that friendship start, and where did the Love Junkies come from?
Well, the name, first of all, we don't know where the name came from.
You don't know?
I mean, we know what song. We were writing Sober, which was the first song that the three of us wrote together in a room.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. Liz had written with Hillary, is it Fearless? They have a Taylor Swift song together. I feel like it's Fearless, where Liz and Taylor Swift had started the song, and then Taylor brought it to Hillary and wrote the bridge.
Oh, cool.
And Hillary didn't know Liz at the time, and she was like,
wow.
we better ask Liz Rose. I don't want to step on Liz Rose's toes. And
wow.
so they had written together, but not in the same room. Yeah. And I had written with Hillary.
Yeah.
One time, just the two of us.
Okay.
And then I'd written a million. Like, Liz sort of taught me how to co-write. She was one of the people in this town, Mark D. Sanders, Brandy Clark, Liz Rose, that sort of taught me, like, oh, this is how this dance works. It's a little different because I had never co-written a song. And we got together because I was traveling here, staying for 3 days at a time. And our publishers decided, well, if Laurie's going to be here for 3 days, let's put them together for 3 days. Yeah. Just the three of them. And Sober was the first song we wrote.
Wow.
Which is Little Big Town Cut. And it's
not a bad first song.
I know. We were so lucky. And somewhere in there, we were like, we should name ourselves. And
that's awesome.
And that's where Love Junkies came from. Like, that's when it came. We don't know how it landed, but I love it because I'm always typing, and I can just write the Love Junkies instead of
that's so
all
cool,
of our
though.
names. But the thing that works about us is we're all very different. The three of us are about 10 to 8 years. I'm sort of in the middle, and we're about 8-10 years apart.
Okay.
And I always say, like, Liz has been married a bunch of times. I've been married one time. Hillary has not been married yet. And, we all have a bunch of kids.
That's actually a really good point, that there's lots of different perspectives.
We have so many different experiences. Liz is from Texas. Hillary's from Georgia. I'm from Massachusetts. And at any given moment, we all have just very different things happening. Yeah. Like, Hillary has a young child and, is married to, isn't married, but is basically married to a songwriter and married to a plumber. You know what I mean? All the things. And we respect each other. Yeah. And we can 100% each say anything. Yeah. That might not be right for the song. And somebody else will say, that doesn't work, but you know what that makes me think? Yeah. And nobody's going to be like, that was dumb.
Yeah. And that's 100% what you need when you're co-writing.
Yeah. I always tell people, like, if you're going to start to co-write and someone in the room makes you feel like what you said is not good, right, or makes you feel dumb, then you don't need to be in that room. Yeah, I don't care who they are, because it's really not what we do in this town either. No. But we can really pretty much, we respect each other and we love each other. And we all love songs. We all, like, express ourselves through songs. Yeah. So it really, really works.
And you also all won a Grammy together.
Yes.
Which doesn't suck.
No, it doesn't. It was really, that song was a morning song. It was like 8:30 in the morning, and really? it just fell out of Hillary. No way. She sang the first 4 lines of Girl Crush exactly. I said I want to write a song called Girl Crush, and she sang.
It just fell out. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had like a recording of it somewhere because and I talk about it so much that I get to remember it really well. Yeah. Because I get to tell the story a lot. But I said I wanted to write a song called Girl Crush, and she was holding a guitar and just sang the first 4 lines and looked at me and said, "Do you mean like that?" And I looked over at Liz, and Liz was like, "Yeah, that's what we meant."
You're like, yeah, sounds good.
But that song is a great example of the song wrote itself. Like, we all have songs in our catalogs that we were just sort of writing it down, but something else was coming through. Oh, absolutely. And you don't know how you can't make it land on purpose. It
Yeah.
just happens when it happens, and those days are miracles.
Yeah.
And that was like a perfect example of us sort of seeing it happen
Yeah.
through Hillary. And then, to be honest, not getting in the way of the song. Like, literally, like, we don't care if anybody cuts the song because we love where it wants to go here. That's a little weird. Should we do it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what it wants to do. And then it just worked out that Karen and Kimberly came over at 11 o'clock that day.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
Had you finished writing it, or were you in the middle of it?
We finished it.
Okay.
So we started at like 8:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
And we finished probably like by 10.
Wow.
It was very fast.
Wow.
I mean, the whole first, verse Hillary has, and then it's a repeat, it's a wraparound, and we sang it in the phone, and Karen Fairchild and Kimberly Schlappman from Little Big Town came over at 11 with brownies and wine, and we actually wrote.
That's an amazing morning.
I know, like right on time, and we actually wrote 3 songs with them that day.
No way.
Yeah, we wrote.
That was a fast writing day.
Yes, it was they were there till like 9 o'clock at night, I think.
Okay.
It was a long, beautiful day, but we kind of like just put it aside and played it for Karen. Liz was like, "You got to hear the song. Like, tell us if it makes sense. We think it makes sense." And Karen said, "Don't play that for anyone else. Hold that for us."
Wow.
And we wrote, for Little Big Town fans out there, we wrote Tumble and Fall, which is on, I forget what record, and a song called Something Strong. Yeah. Those are on 2 different records. So all 3 of these songs are on different records. And we wrote a song called Truck Bed that nobody ever recorded.
Yeah.
But that day we were sitting there, and I'm in this room with these women. There's 5 of us. We're just sitting around, like sitting on the floor, writing songs.
Yeah.
And I remember looking around the room and realizing that I was the only one in the room without a Grammy. And I felt like a little tinge of like, oh, poor me. Like, with all the... Well, first of all, like, how did I get here?
Yeah.
Like, look at the room of women I'm sitting in.
Yeah.
And then just knowing their careers enough to know that there's lots of Grammys in this room.
Yeah.
And I said, I said it out loud. I said, you know what? I just realized I'm the only one here that doesn't have a Grammy. And Karen looked at me and she said, Laurie McKenna, we're going to get you a Grammy. And she wasn't talking about Girl Crush. She just, like, put it in the universe. Yeah. Like, it hadn't even been recorded. You know what I mean? We had just written it.
Oh, my gosh. That gives me chills.
I know. It was crazy.
What an incredible story.
I don't even know if Karen remembers she said that to me. There was some wine involved in that conversation. I'm not saying.
But, well, whatever she did, what was that? Whatever was in the brownies and the wine worked.
There was nothing illegal in the brownies, I promise. But, no, it's just I've been really blessed by lots and lots of really good girl power in this career of mine,
That's incredible. Oh my gosh, I love that story. So you got your Grammy, but you not only got 1 or 2, but you got 3 overall so far. Is that correct?
Right.
And one of them, I want to go back to, we're talking about co-writing. You solo wrote Humble and Kind.
Right. Yes.
And Tim McGraw put that out.
Right.
So that has to be, like, to me, in my mind, as a songwriter, that has to be, like, the epitome of gratification, of knowing that you've done a good job. Like, this is a song I sat down and wrote by myself, no other input, and I did it justice. And the world saw that, and they felt it, and they heard it. And it's now been awarded Song of the Year at the Grammys.
It was another blessing and another example of me being very lucky. But the reason I have a career in this town is a lot to do with Faith Hill and Mary Gaucher giving a record to Melanie Howard, who gave that record to Missy Gallimore, who gave it to Faith Hill. Wow. And so for me to sit down one day, just like literally straight up in my pajamas and write a song, a list, over a 3-chord progression, a list of things I wanted to tell my kids, who at that time were like, the youngest was 10 and the oldest was 25.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Like a million things we want to tell our kids, right? The hardest part about that song is really editing down all the things that you want to tell
Yeah.
your kid, right? And everything rhymes with the word kind. Like, it's a very simple.
I think you're so funny trying to be like, listen.
But honestly,
you are Lori McKenna.
But this is like something else, like being involved, because I sang it in my phone, and I emailed it to Tim, because I had been on the road with Tim and Faith, and I know how they are with their kids. We have kids the same ages, and I've seen them with their kids enough to know that what I feel as a parent, they feel as parents. And, and so I emailed it to Tim. But Tim really, aside from taking that song where it's been, he also kind of tweaked the melody a little bit. He kind of made the, like, I always tease him and be like, I should probably give you publishing on that song. But I'm not gonna. Like, I kind of try to sing it more like Tim now. If you go back and there was a demo eventually done of the song, and I think I had there's part of songwriting for me, if I write by myself, that I have to express it. Like, I try to, before I go and cut a record, I try to do solo shows. Yeah. Because the songs will change a little bit as I sing them to people. Yeah. So just like writing the song and singing it, and then like, okay, there it is forever. Yeah. There's something cool about that. Right. But there's also sometimes little tweaks, and you probably do this too. Or little, like, you'll take out a word just, or you don't need that of, or you shave the beginning of that line. Yeah. And they change, they evolve a little bit to sort of like my friend Mike Viola, like, once you get the song under your fingers, it gets in you a little bit. And that happened to the song. And there's parts of Tim's vocal where he stayed true to the way it originally came out. Yeah. And so now I try to meet that in the middle a little bit. And he was such a champion of that. They've always been my angels, and he's always championed me, but that he is such a champion for that song. Like, it would not be anything that it is without McGraw.
That's incredible. I mean, just like, can you believe the words coming out of your mouth sometimes when you talk about all of this? Yeah, it feels like it must just be like constant pinch me.
It's wild
moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you talk about, your shows and your performing. I want to talk about you as an artist as well, because you have an incredible voice.
Well, thank you.
Very distinct and unique. And what's the word to describe? Like, my husband always said, because he loves working with female artists, and because for the reasons that we were talking about earlier, where just the perspective and the unique take, and communicator. He always call it like Brandy. He was like, Brandy is an incredible communicator.
She really is.
And I feel like with your voice and just how distinct, and as soon as you hear your voice come on, that's Lori McKenna. And it's what? Don't be scared of that.
My voice is so weird.
It's not weird at all. But it is. It's such a blessing that it's so unique, and that because I mean, it's beautiful. It's not weird in a bad way at all. It's like I when I was growing up, and I grew up in the music industry, my dad was a singer, and I always heard, you don't want to sound like everybody else.
No, it's true.
And so it is like...
It is true.
It is just, when you turn on your song, that's Lori McKenna. And I wanted to ask you, because you write for so many other artists, and you constantly have songs coming out by so many artists, but you also I feel like, are constantly putting out albums of your own. You put out so much content. How do you differentiate when you're writing for yourself and versus for somebody else? Right. Because you do have such a unique perspective that you write about, like, tons of family stuff and real life stuff. So I'll let you take it from there. Yeah. How do you differentiate all that?
I think for me, like, if I'm not with an artist, like writing with an artist for their project, and that's like a whole other bird, like,
it's like a different Lori in that moment.
Yeah, like today I had a producer and an artist, and I know that my job is always to serve the song. Like, we all always want to get the best song that's in the room today. But right after that, and really what feels like first is like, how do I help this artist express themselves the best way they can, in a way that they're comfortable with, that they're going to want to sing this song every night. Like, think about it. That's a lot. You know, like, you have to sing a song every night. Yep. My son David asked me the other day, he's like, do you ever get sick of any of your songs? I'm like, not really. But maybe. Great. Like, I never really thought about it. But you can see, like, you have to help somebody write something that they're never going to get sick of. Like, that's wild to think about.
So it has to be authentic. Yeah.
Yeah, so it has to come out of them. And how do you help them find it, you know, in the way. That's one thing I love about writing with Love Junkies and an artist, because I will, like, we all have different hats. Like, every song, you have a different lane. You have to be the cheerleader or the editor or the whatever.
Right.
And in Love Junkies, we find our places. Like, we know each other so well. Yeah. I usually serve Hillary because I know she's serving the artist. You know what I mean? It's like that, like, Liz and I will, you know, sort of serve Hillary in the way that she can therefore help the artist express himself the best way. So those days, you know where you are. You know where you land in the space. And as far as me being an artist, I'm always gonna, you know, not take a backseat to that, but not be as consciously aware of what I do for my artistic vision.
Yeah.
And I love days like that because it really helps you just in general just think about, oh, we're all so different, but we're all the same in this way. When I write by myself, like Humble and Kind made sense to send to Tim because I knew I had seen them be parents. And I knew that possibly he would like that. And I send a lot of things to Tim just because he has been such a champion for me. And I know he kind of thinks the way I do, at least in songs. And but as far as like, you know, just a couple of writers writing and who we gonna write for, I don't ever like to say like, oh, so and so's looking. I'm not really this good.
Person today. Yeah.
I feel like I really have to sort of turn away from that and be like, what's the best song that lives in the space for us today? Does anybody have anything that does anybody have anything?
What do we need to work through
that's like
in the room?
Like what? Let's just find what we can't help but express today, and that's usually going to be the best song. But as far as like, if I have written a song, like say 100%, and if my publishing team thinks, oh my gosh, this might work for so-and-so, I'm always for it. Because I'm in a very different lane than all these artists we're pitching to. And I have, you know, it's a different lane, but it's also a smaller lane. So, like, I could put out a song the same time as Tim, and no one's going to even notice.
And say nobody would notice.
Well, it doesn't get in the way.
It doesn't compete with each other in the same vein.
Yeah. So I always, there's a freedom in that. And I'm lucky. You know, because I know great big artists that are great writers, and they, you know, it would be harder for them, you know, to write a song and then have someone else pitch it to somebody else, because then be like, well, why didn't they just, you know, sing it? So I'm sort of in this like really lucky space for that, because I can kind of do both.
Well, that's really interesting. I'm going to ask you about having to write for something specifically, because another one of our Cowgirls at the Cowboy alumni, Natalie Hemby, you guys wrote a ton of the A Star Is Born soundtrack together, along with another co-writer friend, Aaron Ratier. Yes. I actually just released a song with Aaron.
Oh, you did?
3 weeks ago, yeah. So I love Aaron. But what was it like writing with Lady Gaga, first of all, which is like an insane thought to even think, but knowing that you're writing for this specific major motion picture, is there a certain pressure that you feel? Because it is like, I feel like so many writers are like what you're saying, where we just want to write what's in the room and, you know, like what we're feeling. And then, but when you're given like a certain prompt, you're like, okay, pressure's on type of thing. You actually, I have to write this. Did you feel that? What was that whole experience like? Because it just seems like it's so cool.
It was like going away to camp a little bit.
Really?
And I don't do this a lot because travel is a bit limited for me. I don't spend a lot of time like just like in something, you know, like someone in the studio and you just stay there for a week. I don't really ever do that. But that's kind of what this was. We were in LA And we had the script, but this was early on. Okay. And the script was totally changing constantly.
Really?
Constantly changing. Like, I think, like, literally minute by minute, the script was changing. And Lady Gaga was still, like, developing the character that she was going to be in the film. And it was really kind of fun. I look back at it. It was crazy, but I kind of look back at it and think, like, wow, that was really, like, some sort of crazy experiment on how to be creative. We were in a studio that was very busy. It was really? Good busy.
Yeah.
But, like, the Foo Fighters were right next door. Like, our lounges were right beside each other. So they would come in. Like, every time the studio doors opened, like, someone, like, would, like, stick their head.
Somebody super famous would
like,
just be like,
yeah. It was so wild. It was, like,
wow.
Like, Andrew Dice Clay would, like, pop in and then, like... You know, like, all these actors and, like, people from the movie were like, every time the door, like, a lion's going to come through next. Like, something will happen.
My gosh.
And there was, like, me, Hillary, Natalie, and Aaron. Yeah. Like, the four of us, like, the Nashvillians, like, buckled down. Like, there's a bunch of people from Nashville in there. But then the band was there, and the band was ready to cut and play, like, whatever we wrote. So we were kind of writing, like, half things. And Aaron and Natalie and I wrote a song called The Tree that I recorded because they didn't take it for the movie.
That was an album title for you,
right? And and I love that song so much, and I love, like, them even more for, like, letting me, like, have that song in a way, even though I can't, you know, sing it the way Natalie can. But anyway, it was it was great. It was like there was smoking section, like people would go out and smoke, and I'd stand there with the smokers in like the parking lot of this, like
just taking it all in.
It was just wild. Like, and Lucas Nelson would stroll by and work on something. But it was really, the song that I have that made it into the film was Lady Gaga, Natalie, Hillary, and myself. Mm-hmm. And that was like a piano tune, you know, that she sat down at the piano and I sat on the floor and just typed. And it was really, you know, it was a blessing, like a straight up miracle that it made the movie.
Really?
Because there was so much music. Like, there was so many songs written for that film. Yeah. And literally, the script was changing so much. Wow. And, you know, they came in originally and she sang, you know, that Arizona sky burning in your eyes. And somebody said, I don't think the character would say that. Mm. And when we had started writing it, she cried. Wow. And I was like, and there was all these people there, and it's like, I wouldn't have said it out loud. My brain was like, she cried when we were writing that. That means it's good. Like, it means something was, like, something in her.
It was real for her, yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we left, and she must have fought for it or something. I left early. I was like, y'all, I can't take
this.
I took the red eye on a Thursday. That's why I missed the Grammy song. But I was like, I cannot do this. It was so
I missed the Grammy song.
I missed the Grammy song. And they're like, you got to stay 2 more days. I'm like, I got to go. Like, I love you all so much.
Oh, my gosh.
But
a whole different beast than Nashville.
And I was so proud of them when they won that Grammy. It was great. We were there that year for... and it was just so fun to be part of it. Yeah. And I love it that you know, that all existed. And when we think back, we all kind of changed the story a little bit for the things that we remember the most of our experience. Yeah. And then to talk about it. But it was really a really unique way to be creative for a living.
I can imagine.
You know, but there was so cool. much around you. It was like you were in an amusement park the entire time.
Wow.
You know?
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What a cool experience just to keep with you forever.
It was great. It was great. And Dave Cobb was the reason I got that call. Yeah. And he's just been so great to me. So
that's awesome. And he's fantastic.
So great.
Amazing producer. Well, we are so excited to have you out in Jackson Hole and share hopefully some of these stories with the audience there. I know that they're very much looking forward to it. One thing that I'm super excited about, I don't know if you know this, you might already know this, but we've got CMT coming out. They film
great.
an episode of Hot 20. So they film the festival and they take all the girls on excursions. Like last year, I did my interview with them in a hot air balloon.
Oh, Lord.
Overlooking the Tetons. Yeah, I was terrified, but it actually wasn't scary once I got on.
It sounds really scary.
It wasn't.
Okay.
And don't worry, I was fighting tooth and nail with my husband and my manager the whole time where I was like, why are you guys letting me do this? And then as soon as I got up there,
You were okay.
it was so peaceful.
Oh,
it was so
yeah.
calm. I would do it again. But
Okay,
anyways,
good.
all that to say, don't worry, you're not going in a hot air balloon.
Okay.
I don't think.
Okay.
But we're going to do something fun. And we're all just so grateful that you're joining us because
Well, I'm
you are
happy.
truly so inspiring as a songwriter and an artist. And I think I speak for everybody in this town when I say that. And we're also happy that you come here and share your talent with us.
Well, I'm lucky.
Oh
Very
my
lucky
gosh.
to
Well,
be part of it.
we're lucky that you want to be around us. So we can't wait to bring
I'm
you out
looking
to
forward to it. It's going to be
Jackson.
fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I hope they like sad songs, though.
They're going to love
Okay,
them.
good.
Yes. And
Okay.
and I'll tell you this first night, our inaugural year 2 years ago when we had Natalie and Caitlin were on. And it was the first time that the Million Dollar Cowboy Bar had ever had a sit-down show.
Oh, wow.
Where you were quiet. And so we were nervous. Like, we were like, I don't know if there'll be
The audience wasn't
listeners,
used
you
to
know,
it.
you have to train
Mhm.
people sometimes. And you could hear a pin drop the entire
wow.
time.
That's great.
Yeah. Natalie went out and did Crowded Table in the
Oh,
middle
yeah,
of
she's
the
so
bar
great.
and had the entire bar. It was the most magical moment. So they're absolutely going to be sitting on pins and needles,
Okay.
listening to every word that comes
Oh,
out of
good.
your mouth. So thank
That's
you so much for sharing all of these amazing stories with us today. Thank you for being on the
Absolutely.
podcast.
Thank you for
And-
having me.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. We've got a special thank you gift for you.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, that's so nice.
you leave.
Gifties.
Just a little
I love the name.
memento with the
Thank you. Should I open it now? Okay.
Okay, so this is a special glass with the Tetons inside of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
So just a little something to...
Is that where you got married?
That's where we got married. Right there.
Right in the middle. That's where the hot air balloon was? Right
Yeah,
in the
there,
middle.
you can almost see me if you look
gorgeous.
close.
There she is. That is awesome. Thank you.
Yes, well, thank you so much
You
for
know, I'm
being
obsessed
here.
with glasses. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah. Oh, I have a thing.
Oh my gosh, perfect.
Yeah, I have a problem with like, I'm
Okay,
like, I
well-
need that glass. Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my
I have a collection. So
No
this will
way.
join my collection.
Oh my gosh.
Yes,
How
thank you.
perfect.
Coffee mugs and glasses are like my thing.
Well, just like Girl
Yeah.
Crush fell out of the universe, I guess this glass fell out of the universe.
That is stunning. I didn't know they could do that. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh,
Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
Yes.
And y'all be sure to check out Lori McKenna, all of her beautiful music, if you're not already, and get ready for Cowgirls at the Cowboy
Yeah.
because it's going to be amazing. Best time ever. Thank you guys so much for watching, Lori. Thank you again for being here.
Thanks for having me.